Welcome to Your City Connections, where you get to meet entertaining and informative guests. Guests such as an artist with a brush or with a camera, and guest with a violin. City Connections, providing insightful interviews with favorite son Lieutenant Governor Todd Lamb. To city commissioners, the mayor. Interviews with a rodeo queen, to beauty queen, and even a NBA player. Now, join Steve Keim as he discusses another engaging topic on City Connections.
Hello again and welcome to City Connections. I'm Steve Keim, Public Relations Director for the City of Enid. And thank you for joining us today for our special edition of City Connections. And our theme today is Marine Corps Toys for Tots. And my special guest to talk about everything about Toys for Tots here in the Christmas season is Roy Wahlgren. Roy, welcome to the Enid Television Network studios. Appreciate you taking here. Because we visited early this week and you are one busy guy, so I appreciate you taking 15, 20 minutes to talk to us today.
I was getting further information just on the way down here so that I could have the proper points for you, because there's so many things happening right now, Steve, that it's just craziness.
Well, we'll try to make sense of some of that craziness, and we'll talk about some of these events. Roy, I was looking online the other day, and it said the Marine Corps, or the Corps Toys for Tots program, was established in 1947. Now, I've grown up listening or hearing about Toys for Tots, but I had no idea 1947 was the date. Can you take us back to the creation of Toys for Tots? How did it get started?
It started out with a retired officer's wife who thought something should be done for the less fortunate children in the area. And that first year, she made some handmade dolls, and they handed them out. And from there, it just grew and grew and grew. And the interesting thing about the Marine Corps is the other services, all of the rest of the other branches of the military, have support for their own group within the Navy and the Air Force and the Army and the Coast Guard. The Marine has an organization that reaches out and supports those in their community. And the purpose is to provide a Christmas for the less fortunate families in our neighborhood, in our communities. Sure.
Well, let me ask you this. Just really, somebody's watching the program, Roy, and they say, you know, this year I think we're going to need some help. Can you just kind of walk us through the process? Who qualifies? I know your office is located downtown on Independence, right along the town square, but just kind of walk us through the process. Who qualifies and how do they get some help?
Okay, when they come in, we get a picture ID so that I know who they are. Okay. I get proof of their residence, because I had one the other day that came in. They had the picture ID, but all they had was Hawaii. Well, I want them, this is for our local community. It entails Garfield County and the counties that touch Garfield County. Okay. That's our area.
So it's a lot bigger than an Enid thing.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
But the primary focus, needless to say, is Enid, because that's where the population base is.
Sure.
That's where the bulk of it is. I need proof of residence so that I know they live here, and some kind of proof as far as the kids are concerned. And most of the time they bring in a birth certificate or social security card or something like that. I do not have a requirement as far as financial is concerned.
Okay.
Because I have one family that I've been made aware of this year that has 6 children. Well, one of their boys is undergoing his 3rd brain surgery. Mm-hmm. So income is not always an indication of whether or not there's a need. Because if my kid were having brain surgery, guess what? I'm going to be concentrating on that rather than worrying about Christmas.
My special guest today on City Connections is Roy Wahlgren with Marine Corps Toys for Tots. Again, is located on Independence in downtown Enid. And I met with Roy earlier in preparation of our visit. And I was very impressed with the layout. If you've ever been there, everything is extremely organized. And we have all these different age categories. So and we'll talk specifically about some of the needs that they have. But it's a very well organized, if you will, operation for assistance that they provide. The number that you can contact is 580-278 and 6025. And so, Roy, my question to you is, and we'll have that number on the screen throughout our interview, but how can people donate? I guess you'd take money, but toys is always on people's minds, but how can people help?
Either way, if they give cash or a check, they make that out to Toys for Tots. I take those funds, send them in, and that is credited to our local account,
okay,
and they will receive a tax-deductible receipt from the Marine Corps Toys for Tots Foundation.
Okay.
So that's where the money will go, but it comes back to us. And the minute that I make out that deposit, that money is in our account. And I operate with a special credit card that's linked to our account just here in the Enid area.
So people can provide cash or write a check, just help financially, but they can also purchase gifts.
Listen, we've got 125 boxes out in the Enid area. The most we've ever had before has been like 90. I've got 125 out there.
And what determined the growth to 125? Were you just getting more requests to say, Roy, we need a box over here, or we want to help in this way?
Part of it was requests, and part of it is, as you know, there's new businesses out on
Okay.
Particularly West Garriott, as well as other areas, and I've been very proactive to find out locations and going to them and seeing if I can put a box in their location. Toys for Tots has a great reputation, and
Sure.
it's generally not been a problem, but they just haven't been contacted, and I need to do that.
Sure. Well, I got involved in Toys for Tots quite some time ago, but when I came to the city of Enid, really 4 years ago, when we have our annual Christmas dinner, I'd like to share with our viewers, when the city of Enid employees have their Christmas dinner, we take a couple of these boxes and we place it in the lobby, so when the employees come for the dinner, they have an opportunity to place a toy in the box, and so we've got involved that way, and we'll continue to do so this year. I know from just our visit the other day, and you showed me all the different categories, 2-year-old, 6-year-old, all the different toys. You took me to an area for boys and girls 13 years and older, and it was kind of like the cupboard was really bare. There was plenty of toys for all these other age categories, and it was something that I didn't even think about. But it sounds like you really have a need for toys or gifts ages 13 and older for boys and girls.
Those are the ones that are the most difficult, Steve, for us to get, because they're so much into the electronics, and we have very little of that. But this year I have purchased, and they came in this week, razors for some of the boys.
Okay.
Because when you reach a certain age, guess what? They're shaving. I got
Yep.
good hair dryers. I've purchased some drones. But I went through there today and I found out one thing we do not have is I've got a bunch of ball gloves for younger girls, and I have one for the boys. And whether it's ages 8 and up, as far as Little League or whatever it may happen to be, I don't have much like that. We generally get quite a few footballs, basketballs, and things like that, but all of a sudden we're going, I've got one glove down there, and if
Yeah.
we're servicing 1,500 kids, I could use a few more like that.
Very good. Well, so you have the all call right there, as Roy mentioned, that as you're giving this year and you're considering Toys for Tots, as he mentioned, 13 and older for boys and girls, those gifts and are really limited supply. So if you determine you want to help in that category this year, keep that in mind. Boys and girls, 13 years and older, that type of gift. And it's good to know that, because I know people want to help, but they want to be able to help in the right way. So this is good information. Now, Roy, we're going to air this program numerous times, and it'll be on Facebook, and it'll be on the Enid Television Network numerous times. So I know in the next few weeks there are some important dates. Is there a date cut off to say, okay, I'm a family that, I need to go and see if I can get some assistance? Is there a final date for that? And And then I also know that you start distributing gifts at a certain date. Can you kind of talk us through some of these important times?
We'll start, we'll finish registration, because I have to know how many of what age group I'm going to have in order to adequately get toys in order to supply so that everyone can have a Christmas. What we need to do is I'll get that number, and then I'll go out and purchase ones to fill in where we've got holes. But when it's been 75 degrees in Enid, we haven't even had a frost yet, nobody's thinking about Christmas.
Yeah.
So most of the boxes that I've looked at have been empty. Well, and I expect that, but that's all due to change. As far as registration, next week will be our final week of registration, and we will be at our warehouse from 10 to 12 and 1 to 4, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Thursday we'll be there 2 to 7, because there's some who are working, but they've single moms or whatever, they need the time, and that'll be 2 to 7. And it's been pretty steady. When we first opened it, the first of this week, I had 25 people lined up out on the sidewalk waiting to get in and register for Toys for Tots so that they could get something for their children for Christmas.
You know, Roy, I was an executive director of a nonprofit organization, kind of a statewide nonprofit years ago, and I'm well aware of the importance of being good stewards of the funds that you get. And in the research that I did with Toys for Tots is that 97% of the monies given to the organization go to gifts and go to toys and books for the boys and girls. 97%. Very few organizations are run that well organized, if I will, because maybe say 60% goes to what their purpose is, but 97%. So how do you achieve such a high percentage of when somebody gives that dollar, it pretty much all goes to gifts and to those boys and girls?
Toys for Tots. It's not meals for volunteers. It's not gas for the area coordinator's truck. It's Toys for Tots, and we do that. We will go around and hopefully have donations of the bags that we use to pick the toys up from the boxes, as well as the bags when a parent comes in. We like black bags when a parent comes in, so that they can get them in the house without the kid knowing what in the world they're getting.
Sure.
And so that's, we expect donations of even those things.
Right. Even if it's a last-minute donation, money or gifts, you're not going to turn it away. I'm sure you're going to find a home for that.
It still goes into our coffers, so to speak, because when I had to order toys before, it was funds that was in there before that enabled me to order, and I got 3 pallets full of toys this week that were from funds that I had.
Sure. Well, we want to remind our viewers, again, the number to call if you want to help out for the Marine Corps Toys for Tots here in Enid. It's 580-278-6025. That's 278-6025. Chances are the young man that'll pick up the phone will be Roy, and Roy will be looking forward to hearing from you because, again, they'll take cash donations, checks, if you will, and also plenty of gifts. And, again, the age emphasis, 13 and up, has a special need. Roy, to close out our interview, is there any topic or something that we have left out that you have an opportunity to speak to the viewers and say pretty much anything that you would like? Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to mention?
Well, we've been doing this. It started in this area. Larry Wheeler was the main man who started this.
Right.
And I talked to his wife this morning, and that was about 30 years ago.
Wow.
Because that's when they got married. She says, well, I know it started right then. And he did that up until a couple of years ago when, unfortunately, Larry passed away.
Right.
Well, I'm still working with his wife, and she's key and vital because of the work that she did behind the scenes for him.
Sure.
Guess what? She's still doing that for me. So we've been around for a long, long time, Steve, and it's just great to see the community come together and provide a Christmas for those who are less fortunate. I was asked to be the area coordinator. I had no idea what all it entailed. And after Larry passed away, Michael McCauley had it for a couple of years, but because of health reasons, he was unable to continue.
Sure.
And they needed somebody to step in. I almost feel like if I had known all that it entailed, I might have had second thoughts.
Sure, I think we've all could say that on certain projects. So,
but it's good. Some things that are coming up as far as local places that are helping us out. November 20th through the 28th, the local Chick-fil-A is having a emphasis on Toys for Tots. You bring a toy in and they'll give you a coupon good for a free breakfast entree.
okay.
December 3rd, Cycle Ward from 11 to 1 is having a customer appreciation. They want you to bring in a toy and they're serving free food. And then they're going to have a 50-50. And whatever the funds are that are raised, 50% goes to that person who bought the ticket, but the other 50% comes to Toys for Tots. And December 10th at 11 o'clock from 11 to 2, Jane's Machine Shop right down the street here is having a car show. And they ask people to bring, it's a big car show, and they ask people to bring a toy for Toys for Tots. And last year, they collected about a dozen boxes of toys, and this year they're hoping that we can get to 15 boxes of toys, of these big boxes you see everywhere, to help us out.
Sure.
And then on the 12th, we start distribution. And we're doing 4 families every 20 minutes. So 12 an hour.
Wow.
And
That's
we'll do
impressive.
120 families a day, which is,
And you start that December 12th.
yes.
Okay.
And obviously, we'll need elves galore, because you reach the point where some people need to have a break.
Wow.
And then we're also at that point taking toys out and restocking areas of our shelves where it begins to get a little short of what's needed, so that everybody has an opportunity to receive the gifts.
Roy Wahlgren, thank you very much for what you do with Marine Corps Toys for Tots. I know you're extremely busy this time of year. Thanks for coming by the Enid Television Network studios.
Well,
And,
thank you, Steve. I
keep-
appreciate
keep-
your interest.
Keep up the good work.
Like I say, any help, whether it's putting a toy in the box, whether it's donating a check, whatever it happens to be, we would be grateful and appreciative, because it's all Enid area.
Sure.
And it stays within the Enid area,
Sure.
Steve, and that's the thing. The check may end up going to D.C., but unlike where we send our taxes, the funds come
Yeah,
back to
the
Enid.
benefits here. Roy, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us on this special edition of City Connections. And again, the number, if you want to help out the Marine Corps Toys for Tots, is 580-278-6025. And Roy will pick up the phone and say, hey, thanks for helping us out. So thanks for keeping them in mind. There's many organizations this time of year that need your help, but we appreciate the bears that or the dogs that we have behind us here, and you recognize the boxes as well. It's all about bringing a little bit of joy to the boys and girls here in the Enid area. And I'd like to keep in mind that this program is going to air numerous times through the holiday season, so be mindful of those dates that Roy talked about, because the program may be airing past some of those dates. So keep in mind there are certain time frames for certain events in regard to the Marine Corps Toys for Tots. Thanks for joining us on City Connections. I'm Steve Kime. Until next time, make it a great day and Merry Christmas.